All right. Well, we're wrapping up 2025. What a year it's been for the industry and everyone. And I'm particularly excited in having this conversation. Irina is on our team. She's our head of recruiting and sourcing, and basically we want to help candidates really kick off 2026 with a strong start and what we're seeing in the marketplace in terms of what hiring managers are actually looking for. Basically, just a status update in terms of job hunting and how you could put your best foot forward. So yeah, Irina, welcome. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year as we wind down, and I'm super excited, honestly, to wrap up this year and put it behind us and get into 2026. So I'll just kick it off with really where we're at from a macro standpoint. So the federal government just went through a shutdown, and we finally have updates on our unemployment numbers, and we just printed a 4.6 unemployment rate. Historically speaking, anything under 5% is still pretty tight in terms of a labor market, pretty healthy. But this is the largest unemployment rate that we've actually seen in the past 4 years. So we are starting to see now it really tick up. And just from a macro standpoint of like, I think what we're seeing our clients do more with less as a whole. So what I mean by that is when someone quits, let's say from a manufacturer, we're seeing them actually not immediately backfill that role. They're really taking a look and saying, okay, do we really need to refill this position, or can we spread apart the responsibilities to some of the other folks on the teams, or they're delaying it, and it's all really because of margin compression from the tariffs, right? So there's a lot of pressure from HQ to really maintain the margins, and we've seen a dramatic impact on the hiring market
Mm.
um, in all of 2025, including our own team, right? I think we're always hovering around this
Mhm.
50% year to date. We don't have our final numbers yet, but we'll probably finish just under 50% in terms of job orders year over year. Any comments to that in terms of like what you're seeing our hiring managers doing in terms of being more timid and hiring a lot less this year?
Mm, First of all, thank you for having me, and apologies for my voice.
Well, yeah, I think the flu is going around pretty heavy. It hasn't hit
Yeah, always.
my household yet, but it seems like every other person I speak to
Yeah,
is battling
it's sick.
something
Yep.
past few weeks for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, definitely 2025 has been a challenging year. And due to the tariffs, as you mentioned at the beginning, we have seen a lot of hiring managers and overall companies not being open to hiring. They're keeping steady. The situation was very turbulent and no one was hiring. We didn't know whether it's going to be 25%, 50%. So a lot of slowdown in job openings. So I feel that it should be better in 2026 now that some of the tariffs are set in place. But I think that was a major hit in the tire industry in terms of hiring. So I think the trend's gonna change in 2026. We've already seen some increases, right, in job openings, but overall, yeah, it was a slow year, and I think, like I said, it's gonna change next year. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully it does.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Across the board, I feel like everyone feels the same. So again, just to
Yeah.
reiterate, we really want to focus on the candidates, right, that are looking for jobs right now, that are unemployed. We feel your pain. We understand. I've been on that side of the table, so certainly understand like the frustrations, and we want to kind
Mm.
of uncover what the other side of the table looks like, right? So when you apply for a job and you don't hear back, what's really going on at the end of the day? So you talk to a lot of candidates every week. What's the most common mistake you're still seeing candidates make, even the experienced ones?
So I feel that there is a huge focus on their titles and the resume, right? Rather than them showing their achievements, successes, whatever they have accomplished, right, in their job. So it's more focused on that rather than what hiring managers really want to see. And that's what have you accomplished? And that should be highlighted either on their resume including their LinkedIn as well. I think that's extremely important, and that they need to um, be able to give specific examples of their achievements. I think it's crucial. Other than that, if you don't do it, it's just like if you list your day to day or your job description, it won't make a difference. They want to see results. I think
Yeah,
that's very important.
and to add on to that, like a regional sales manager of a particular territory, not just having a bullet of like increased
If,
sales, right? But it's like
no, how much
how
year over
much,
year
right?
growth?
Like by X
Yeah,
percent, hit your
yeah,
KPI. What were your targets, and did you hit them, and
yeah,
by how much,
exactly.
and actually showing that, right?
The book of business, and it really helps, for example, for like you said, for sales reps to have that, like their segments listed, year over year growth, book of business, what's something that they like, one of their major accomplishments throughout the year, how much they grew the territory, maybe list customers if you're able to, right? So not everyone can do that, but that's also very helpful.
Yeah, I think that recruiters like me, maybe not so much you, literally look at resumes sometimes for 3 seconds or 10 seconds and already have a bias. Like I'll
Yeah.
look at a few different things, and what I like to nitpick. So
Mm.
something for me that you could easily fix to be more competitive is having someone that is detail oriented, if you're not that person, to really make sure that you cross your T's, dot your I's. So for example,
Yeah.
if you have a list of bullets, you're either putting periods at the end of them or you're not. As silly as that
You in
sounds,
the periods.
yeah, because I'm skimming
No,
for that,
true,
because does
100%.
this
No.
person have attention to detail? Because how you
Yeah.
do one thing is how you do everything. The second one for me is I'll also immediately go to your LinkedIn, and I'll say, okay, does everything match? Because oftentimes months don't match, years don't match, or they're working some other, full-time job. And it's our job as the recruiter to really be able to sell you and tell your story, right? So it's like
Mhm.
when we're looking at your resume and your LinkedIn, what is your story? What are you selling at the end of the day? And the first thing that I'm really looking for is like the job description, right? Whatever the title is, does it obviously match, right? So it's like if we're hiring for a regional sales manager, do they have the simple criteria and titles, right, that they're applying
Mhm.
for, right? So all these like really like baseline things at a super high level, it's still interesting to see, even for like director and VP, how many folks kind of have like this missed opportunity where their story kind of doesn't align. And that kind of leads into a second kind of question I have for you. When folks have a lot of frequency in terms of like the
Mhm.
number of jobs that they've had, um, hiring managers, from what I see, have a bias, right? They're like,
They
no,
do. Yes.
too many hops. So, what is your recommendation to anyone listening, maybe that has hopped a lot, let's say in the past 5 years?
You have to have your story straight, meaning when you jump on a call with a recruiter or with the maybe with HR or whoever you're interviewing with, have your story straight. So from you start from the bottom till your current position, and then you tell us how you have moved on from a position. What were the reasons behind it, and try and not to blame it on anyone else, right? And
Yeah,
then also make sure you have references if you did and on good terms before you even leave the company, or get your references, and then tell the recruiter that, hey, just so you know, I do have references from the people that are reported into, and I can get those over to you. So that's what we do. Like, I would never not talk to someone because of that. I will always talk to them,
sure.
and I will always, present them to the hiring manager, but I would have to have the story straight, make sure it makes sense, right? And always make sure they have references, because that's a green flag, right? If you don't give me
Totally.
references, that's probably a red flag, and maybe something else has happened. I don't know.
I think we've all had bad bosses or like bad experiences in roles, right? So it's totally fine to be able to tell that story, right? But like how we tell it, not
Ye-
blaming others, is really
Never.
powerful. And it's like, a lot of times we get on calls with some candidates and they're just super negative and blame like everyone
The
else and
boss.
don't take ownership.
Mhm.
And like you're probably not going to make it to the final round if you bring that energy, right? There's certain
Yeah,
ways to portray really
exactly.
challenging experiences, and this is why you made the shift. I
Yeah.
think from a legal standpoint, like companies can't, they're not allowed to go to your previous employers and ask like certain questions like why. But I think it's more on you as a candidate to be able to be super forthcoming and like explain your story if you're one of those folks that doesn't have a resume where it's like 5 years experience here, 10 years
Yeah.
experience there, and it's like very straightforward, and you have all your bosses kind of giving you those references. But I think that in any case, your past 2 to 3 roles, if you're a candidate, having the ability to say, "Hey, I'm more than happy to, um, if you want at a final stage, to let you speak with 2 of my previous bosses, in, like, the past 3 roles, if to clear up anything maybe that, to further align and back up our story,
Mhm.
versus it's like, "Yeah, you can't speak to, like, my past 5 bosses." Unfortunately, even
Yeah,
though, like, legally, like, the company can't, that really doesn't help you in
it
terms of,
does.
like, a biased approach. Because we work also, I think, in such a small industry, everyone knows everyone, right? So it's, like, pretty easy in a lot of circles just to pick up a phone, even though we don't want our we don't want hiring managers doing this. They're still kind of back
They
talking anyway, right? So
yeah.
making sure that your story is truly, like, aligned.
Yeah, exactly, because they will ask around again, even though it's not something we advise or but they yeah, they still do it. They have contacts and they're not gonna contact your current employer for sure or someone that you're currently working with,
Hopefully
but
not,
someone
yeah.
from the past. No, they won't. They typically don't. But from the past, for sure, they most likely will reach out.
So what are some other, I guess, staying on this topic of like resume, like what do we like, do we need to talk about the simple things like in the US specifically, it's not standard to put your picture, keep it
Yeah,
kind of one
yeah.
two pager max. What about like engineering or these more technical roles? Is there something that you think
Project. Oh,
project?
projects. Yeah, you have to have like projects listed. Who have you worked with? What was the goal, etc. I think that's very important for engineering roles. And the methodologies that you've used or any tools that you've used, that's very important. And if you're a technical person, all those skills have to be listed. I think it's very important. And you mentioned at the beginning, like the grammar and the typos and all of that, and it has to be aligned with your LinkedIn profile. Like you have to have them matched because they are going to look at your LinkedIn profile sooner or later. And if it's not the same, then it's like what happened here, etc. So that's very important as well. But for
So
yeah, that's for the resume. That's it. Super simple.
So yeah, one of the hardest pieces is to actually like get through the gatekeeper and get the interview. Once you actually get
Mm,
the interview, what do hiring managers in your mind really want to hear, but candidates are missing? So like you submitted someone for a role, you thought they were an awesome candidate, but then you debrief with the hiring manager, and what do you
and
often
they
see
say,
in candidates
yeah,
miss?
oh, yeah, that's a huge topic for me. I love talking about this. I feel that not a lot of candidates take interviewing seriously. Meaning they are not well prepared. If a hiring manager wants to talk to you, and we, especially us, have sent you there, that means that they have seriously considered your resume because we do a whole write up of your story, right? And they know what you have done, so they want to talk to you. So now you have to use that opportunity to be well prepared to show up, and they are going to look for enthusiasm. Crucial. You have to be positive. You have to be smiling. You have to be very welcoming. You have to ooze confidence and be ready to speak with them. And then from there, they're gonna want to hear specific examples. Again, we go back to the accomplishments and how you've gotten there. When they ask a question, you got that business, how did you do it? Like, don't be vague. Like, you have to give specific example, not how you're gonna do it, but how you've done it. Unless the question is for the future, like how would you do it, right?
Yeah.
Typically, when we get that question, they will say, "Oh, I would do that and that." No, I did that and I did that. Like very specific, and then make sure you do your research. What have they done recently? Any accomplishments on the company, etc. And then you have to end with questions. If you can have the best resume ever, etc. But if you don't show interest, if you don't ask questions, it means that you're not interested in the job. And I always joke with the candidates because we do help them prepare, right? And I'll tell them, okay, well, just so you know, once you're done with the interview, if you're not interested, don't ask questions. But like, if you really want the job, make sure you follow through with everything, and then ask your questions. I would also like to just share that we do have a prep guide for anyone who is interested in getting it. You can PM me and I can send you a free copy of it. I think it's super helpful. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are like my must-haves to for that interview prep.
A black belt is a white belt that just showed up every day, right? And like
Exactly.
at the end of the day, all this stuff is like super basic that we're sharing, but the
But it
unfortunate
isn't,
bit
isn't
is
it?
ma- many candidates, like double digits. I don't know if it's 50%. We just see totally
Mm,
missing on these baseline things, like not researching the company before and seeing what's going on in the news and tying that back, not researching who you're interviewing with, what's going on with them, recent accomplishments, asking
mhm.
them questions. Like, I can't tell you how many interviews I've been on where it's like, tell me what you found out about us, what's interesting. And just the person's like, yeah, I didn't have time
Time.
to look it up. And it's just like, like obviously you don't really care about it's just you're already at like -2, right? And then your
Yeah.
point about like asking questions, I think to add on to that, I wouldn't ask any self-serving questions. I would ask like
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that is fine.
self-serving in terms of like,
What's the
like
salary?
yeah, what's the salary? But like,
Don't tell.
what are the three to hey Mark, what would I have to do? I'm still unclear about the KPIs. What are 3 KPIs that I would have to meet a year from now for you to say, "Hey, Mike, you knocked it out of the park?" And let's
Mm,
talk about those, right? And then if it was which shame on the hiring manager and hiring
we
team if they
didn't.
don't have that, but it just shows that you're driven towards hitting goals, and then you're gonna make sure that you supply the right answers, proving the fact, right,
Yeah.
that you've done them. Obviously, we're majority of the folks that we speak to are like very experienced people. These are not for like entry level roles. Just not really our wheelhouse. That are oftentimes missed, I would say. And when we think about candidates and like it goes both ways, right? It's like the company's interviewing you and we know you're interviewing them as well, right? So like but this is just for candidates. So it's like you want to give them a great experience. So even when you're doing like an HR screen, treating that person and making them feel special, like they are a big part of the process if you're much higher level, all the way through and carrying through with excellence on every step of the interview, if that makes sense. Respecting everyone, et cetera, really goes a long way. A lot of times we kind of hear this, um, I don't know what the right word would be, where the candidates kind of felt maybe like above or just like um not too good, but like it just shows that they didn't do
Oh.
the prep because they
Mhm.
thought they were, hey, this is like this is just another
Easy?
RSM. I've been an
No.
RSM for 20 years, but they don't really understand the company's value proposition. They didn't really review the job description, et cetera, and it really shows during the interview. So
Yeah.
do your homework. Anything
Yeah.
else there you want to add?
Well, even a simple at the end, even a simple question, why do you enjoy working here? Like
Mm.
that, very good question, right? It's so simple, but it shows that why do you want to work here? What would you what's your advice for the new hire? Super simple, but very effective, right? It shows engagement. That's very important.
What's one answer that instantly raises a red flag?
It's the yeah, we talked about this. It's the speaking negatively of your prior employers and being
Mm,
too much financially driven. I know that it's very important, right? Like salary is extremely important, but if you make it all about it, then it's not a good look.
totally. That should be aligned up front. If it's not, sometimes it's not.
It's just don't interview,
When
right?
you're
It
when
just
you're with
yeah,
the hiring
exactly.
manager, unless they're bringing it up, I would never bring up,
Never.
in terms of, like, these self-serving questions at the end unless they're kind of driving that, right?
Hmm.
Because you need to have as a candidate, you shouldn't just be moving for money, it should be some sort of, like, other,
Value. Yeah,
motivation. Yeah, correct.
exactly. Yeah.
So, um, do candidates need to reinvent themselves or reposition what they have already?
No one needs to reinvent themselves. They can just repurpose themselves, like reposition themselves, highlight their skills, their existing skills, and match into today's world, right? You have to show impact, adaptability, and you have to show that you are in with the new changes like AI, right? Like, yeah, I can easily, like someone who's very like a veteran or has more years of experience. Yes, I can embrace it, right? You don't have to use it daily to do your everyday tasks for your job, but you can use it to maybe do more research or whatever you have to do. But basically, you can just I would say not reinvent yourself, just repurpose
So
your
you brought
LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, well, you brought up AI. What are some other ways that candidates can be, using it?
You can use it to proof your resume. Super simple.
Good one.
Because it's very easy to just upload it, check any grammar errors, typos, whatever. You can use it to do a research. You can use it for everything. You just have to know how to use it right. And it's not that it's gonna, like, a lot of people are afraid it's gonna take their jobs, and like I know recruiters use it for screenings, etc. But I don't think it's gonna take anyone's job. I think, meaning it's gonna help you, right? You have to use it very carefully. You have to use it smart.
Hmm.
You don't have to use it for everything, but it's extremely helpful for, let's say, LinkedIn profile. You can even do that. You can even again do your resume on it. That's very helpful. You can use it to prep for an interview, pull
Yeah.
questions, do your research on the company. What can I ask?
So
Etc.
I think to your point about AI is there's a lot of ways that it could help candidates in terms of the application
Yeah.
process. Um, m AI, I would say to your point about replacing folks, so I don't think they're replacing techs. Good technicians have no
No.
problem finding, jobs today. I think AI will be replacing or making it harder for entry level college students just coming out for like marketing positions, legal, paralegal, these types of roles. But like in our industry, the bottom line is a lot of companies we're seeing just hiring less overall and top grading their talent. So if anything, unfortunately, I think the tariffs
Yeah,
have
it's not
taken out more
AI.
jobs than AI.
Exactly. No, for
Um,
sure.
but we'll see what the future beholds, right?
Yeah.
Um, so so let's talk about a lot of the candidates that maybe they're just maybe they have like their expectations, right? So it really could take a toll mentally. At the end of the day, I always say like, hey, it's a job, getting a job. A lot of folks have been out of the market for a long time, but some of those that are just coming on, what mindset shift do candidates need to make going into 2026 to stay confident and consistent?
Hmm. So you have to stay positive. I've seen so many posts about layoffs and all of that, but you have to stay positive. And if you apply for a job where realistically your skill set doesn't apply, you just don't get discouraged if you get a rejection, because it's very likely that's going to happen, right? Hiring managers will always look for that 90+% match before they switch to someone who is a less of a fit.
Hmm.
So you again, don't get discouraged, and then I just feel that your time will come. You have to stay connected. You can always reach out to any recruiter in the space, right? If you're in the tire industry specifically, reach out to us, tire talent. Then you can, network. Let's say you want to get unemployment at XYZ, you go to their LinkedIn profile, comment, engage, connect with HR, maybe with VP, engage with their posts, and just keep on networking. And then I do believe that, like you said, finding a job is a job, and hard work does pay off. So everyone's time will come eventually, and just be positive. There is nothing else that you can do except for that. And again,
Yeah,
networking.
and I think it's just like sales, right? The less deals that you have in the hopper,
The better.
and then the one that doesn't fall, if you only have one deal in the hopper and it doesn't go through, it's like your whole world comes to an end. Versus if you have a lot of deals, it's okay if the one doesn't go through, right? So, how do you increase your deals? I think that your network is also your most important asset. So, if you're, let's say, someone that's more like manager level, one of the tactics that I've seen work incredibly well is utilizing your network in terms of contacting folks that are the levels that you want to achieve. So let's say director, VP, president, and reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, Irena, would love to know how you became a director. Um, we're in the same field. You may never have met me before, but would love to buy you a cup of coffee or meet with
Mm,
you for 15 minutes online just to pick your brain and learn more about how you got where you are today." And there's a couple things happening there. One is a lot of folks like to talk about themselves and uh, also help others, right? So what you're going to do on that call or that meeting is really learn about them. It's like, hey, how did you get to your path, et cetera, et cetera. And then flipping it into their understanding, right? That you're trying to get help. This person then is going to say, hey, I can introduce you
mm,
to ABC person, right, or company. We actually do have a role I think I heard about coming up Q2. Happy if you want to send me your resume, I could float it to whoever it may be. But at the end of the day, really what you're doing is you're forging your network. And if you're maybe holding yourself accountable to, let's say, one coffee meet per day or two per week. This will help you stay aligned in your industry that you want to stay in. Because oftentimes it's like if you're not getting a job in like 60, 90, 120 days, you start to feel like maybe almost like depressed or disconnected. This is a great way um, to stay connected. There's a
mhm.
lot more tactics, right? So you could private message me too if you want to chat. If I could help you on this, but like going to that meeting prepared, maybe there's five
Mm.
connections that they have that you want to get to or intros by looking on their LinkedIn and really forging your network because we're coming from COVID where anyone breathing could get a job if they wanted a job to now we're really seeing a tightening. So it's just the extra effort that you're going to need to do if it's not so easy for you to get a role and kind of start thinking outside the box. Because the reality is just applying to job boards online, generally speaking, doesn't always get you the results. It's super easy for everyone to like click apply, super easy to when we post a job, sometimes we literally post a job, and I'm not exaggerating with this, 500 applies. Now a human, because AI can segment them, but now a human is somehow supposed to go through that and figure out who's a fit and who's not. So it could
And
be
AI is not
daunting at times.
helping. Sorry
AI
for
is not
interrupting.
helping
AI is
yet.
not helping.
Yeah, we haven't
When we
found the
had the
tool yet
yeah,
that could kind of sort. Right?
very
I'm sure it
challenging.
exists or someone out there has it, but a lot of recruiters are also old school. A lot of HR folks are old school in our industry. They can't. We unfortunately don't have the tools for the onslaught. So how are you going to be the signal amongst the noise? I think really utilize your network, having that first name connection into the company is really a great one. Anything else maybe you want to add there? But just stay positive, have
Yeah.
conversations with people, and I think just staying active. Like
Yeah, that's
again,
it.
reading your industry trade, right? So it's like just really staying active in the space versus just kind of disappearing because you've applied to 10 jobs
And
in
that's
it
it. No.
in 30 minutes and think that that's like all you needed to do for today. Like you need to spend 8 hours a day, 5 hours a day, every day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, really expanding your network, doing what we were saying. um, and keep broadening your search if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's it. I don't think there is anything like that's the secret
Yeah.
recipe, I guess.
So if a candidate's listening today could only do one thing between now and January, or it basically is January, but between now and, like, let's say the start of Q1 to improve their odds of 2026, what would that be?
Ask me for our prep guide. So you so you can be prepared for an interview. I think again, if you get the job, that's crucial.
Yeah. I
If
think
you
we
get
could
an
spend
interview.
hours and hours like kind of talking about this, but a lot of situations are really unique. For
Yeah,
anyone listening that has like a unique situation, you could reach out to either of us.
please.
I think the best way for me is LinkedIn. What about you, Irina?
Same thing, I think, or you can email me as well. But I feel that LinkedIn is I'm always responsive.
Yeah.
Just if yeah, I think
And it's our
LinkedIn is
job
the
to help.
quickest.
I think we'll be here for a very long time. We love our industry. And thank
Do
you so much for sharing your wisdom, Irina. And
oh,
happy 2026 to everyone.
thank you. Thank you for having me and happy holidays to everyone and happy new year.
Enjoy the rest of your vacation. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye everyone.